of the high school football playoff season. Zach, Dean, Chris, Boyle, 2 games, 2 teams. Are we going to be playing next week? That's a big question. Before we get to that, let's look at last week. We had seven teams, correct?
Right. Started with 7.
And, at one point last week, during the first half of those games, I thought, oh my God, we're going to have everybody advance. Because I think at one point, almost everybody was winning their games.
There were a lot of teams who were winning. I mean, you look at DeLand, they were winning all the way up to the final minute of that game. They were up 14 in the fourth quarter. And give credit to Timber Creek coming back in the rain. They were able to go for the 2-point conversion and showed some guts and survived the field goal attempt at the end there. So they won. Flagler Palm Coast went ahead in the second half, right at the end of the third quarter, and then Apopka blitzed them for 23 straight touchdowns, like 21 unanswered in about 66 seconds. And then Trinity Christian was leading in the second half. I mean, just about everybody had a chance at some point last week, with the exception of New Smyrna Beach. We're going to get there in a minute when we talk more about Escambia. But certainly everybody had their moments and shine, and we're down to 2 now with just Mainland and Atlantic left.
Mainland and Atlantic left. I think we all have come to expect to have Mainland as one of the last teams standing. They certainly expected of themselves, for sure, too. Atlantic, let's start with them. That's the game you're going to be at. Atlantic goes to Lake Wales, and speaking of going on the road, Atlantic, beat the snot out of, who was it, River something?
River Ridge.
They killed them last week. They had a pick 6 to start the game and never looked back. The game wasn't even close.
Right.
Really impressive win, their first playoff win in over 2 decades, and now they get to go another road trip to Lake Wales. Can they make it 2 in a row?
I think they've got a shot for sure. I mean, they like you said, they went out there and kind of dominated from the opening whistle. They were up 28-0 at one point of that game. It looked like it was going to be a running clock before halftime. Ty Barong set the tone with that 80-yard pick 6 on the opening drive. Really killed any momentum River Ridge had in that game and flipped the script entirely. Aaron Manning, another great game. I retweeted one of the highlights from that game, a touchdown pass from 45 yards out that he rolled to his left, threw it across his body just absolutely perfectly, hit his man in stride for the touchdown. Certainly Atlantic, you have to think they're going to have a chance, even though they're going to have another long road trip ahead of them, even though Lake Wales is undefeated at 11-0 this season. You look at Lake Wales' schedule, it's a lot of their big offensive numbers. They scored 319 of their 514 points in the first 5 games of the year.
Wow.
They only beat, I think, 1 or 2 playoff teams throughout the course of the season. They beat Sebring by a touchdown. They beat Lely, a team that was a common opponent of Atlantic's. They beat them 16-3, whereas Atlantic more comprehensively won that game 31-6. So I think when you look at Lake Wales, there's certainly some very high-end talent on this team.
Yeah.
Johnny Richardson, the running back, committed to UCF, 2,219 yards on the ground, 30 touchdown rushes this season.
This season?
This season alone. Norman Love is going to join him in the American Athletic Conference, committed to Cincinnati, 10 touchdown catches, almost 700 yards. Gervin Dexter, a difference maker in the interior, I think is going to give Atlantic's run game some problems. 6'7", 286 pounds, committed to Florida, 101 tackles. He's one of 4 players on the Highlander defense with over 100 tackles, 33 for loss. So,
don't you paint a rosy picture.
So certainly, the individual talent of Lake Wales is there.
Yeah.
The body of work maybe doesn't match the record. And I think Atlantic is certainly going to be in this game. They're going to feel as though they've got a good chance to go out there and get the job done. And what's become a wide open region with Rockledge losing in the first round to Chamberlain, it's certainly anybody's ball game right now. You've got the 8 seed, the 4 seed, the 6 seed, and the 2 seed. I mean, there's certainly, it did not go chalk in this region, that's for sure.
It's November madness. Bracket busters already in week 1.
Double bracket.
Something to be said, though, about Atlantic riding some momentum right now. They've gotten better as the year's gone on. I think there's very little doubt they play a tougher schedule. Yeah. So they're definitely more battle tested. They've already gone on the road once and won. I think there's just something to be said about, and again, defense travels, and doesn't matter. I mean, what your offense does. Although Atlantic's offense has been very good lately, but their defense has been so good, and that travels. So I think there's something to be said about momentum. Are you doing it? Are you going to pick Lake Wales or Atlantic? Because I don't know yet.
I haven't made my pick yet. We're doing this on Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to take Lake Wales.
I'm going Atlantic to make people angry at you.
I'm going to take Lake Wales just because I don't know if Atlantic's seen a running back as good as Johnny Richardson this year. It has nothing to do with the caliber of opponent. the caliber of team Atlantic is. I think this is going to be a really close game. I would not be the least bit surprised if this game's a battle into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But I tend to lean on home field advantage. I tend to lean with a team that has the top echelon running back. I mean, if you're a UCF running back, you've got speed. That's their number one recruiting policy right now, and I think eventually that could take a toll.
Fins up. Go Sharks.
That's right.
Atlantic's going to be 2.5 hours away, but that is nothing compared to Mainland's cross-country trip to Escambia over in Pensacola. Escambia dismantled of New Smyrna Beach. Was it 44-0 last week? Mainland, I was at the Mainland game. They won 38-20. The final score made the game seem a lot further apart than it actually was. Mainland was only up 21-20 in the fourth quarter or third quarter. They kind of ran away with it, but Mainland was always in control of that game. A really strong win for them. Can they carry that momentum to one of the best teams in that region over there on the West Coast?
And they felt as though they were in control. I talked to Teron Keith on Monday. He was annoyed that Washington was in that game.
So was I. I thought it was going to be a running clock at one point.
You could tell that he was annoyed that game was ever close. It was 21-3, like you said, and they pulled away when it mattered. And Keith kind of he didn't want to say he took matters into his own hands. I think we can kind of say for him. Yeah. An 85-yard touchdown.
Had a 99-yarder called back.
So, he ran the ball extremely well, over 200 yards. They ran for close to over 350 as a team. It was their best performance on the ground all year, and they had to have it. I tend to think Mainland's maybe got this one.
Wow!
I might go upset in this game. I do think we will have one team survive. I will say that. While I'm picking Lake Wales, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Atlantic wins. Yeah. I'm going to pick Mainland to win. I really think that they've got a chance here to go up there to Pensacola to make a statement. The one thing there's two keys for me for Mainland. They're going to have to be good in the trenches.
Which they were last week for a large portion of the game.
And they've gotten better, it seems as though the year's gone on. Mike Bennett, the head coach at Escambia, complimented his side in the trenches, both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive lines. He said that they've been the key. So they're going to have to win that battle up front. Yeah. The other thing for Mainland, and Keith said it as much, is mistake-free football. They can't take the penalties that killed them.
No,
they can't turn the ball over.
Week.
They've got to take the football from Escambia. They're going to have to have those opportunities where they've cashed in on them this year. You look at the turnovers they forced between Romello Dotson and Lamondre Joe and RJ Turner in the secondary. That they've taken the ball away from some teams. They're going to have to do that. They're going to have to play mistake-free football and win up front. I think Mainland, man for man across the board, I think they've got the kind of players and the kind of mentality to get this job done. They've certainly played, to me, a tougher schedule than Escambia has. Definitely. That's no slight at all to Escambia. You look at what they were able to do against New Smyrna. They beat them by the exact same score Mainland did earlier in the year. It's going to be another game, I think, a tougher game to call, but I will kind of edge Mainland. I do think that they can have a chance to win this game.
I like the Mainland pick. I think I'm going Mainland too, which means Mainland's going to lose. So I apologize, Scott Wilson, for that one. No,
he said that you've been their good luck charms.
I am 2-0 in Mainland games.
Pensacola this week it might sway it actually.
Last week, Mainland, they were the better team, and it was pretty obvious. They were bigger, stronger, faster, but they had a costly fumble in the third quarter that led to a touchdown that made it a 1-point game. Teron Keith's 99-yard touchdown in the first half was called back for the penalty. Mainland was penalized, over a dozen times. Right. Again, refs have been just terrible this year, but Mainland, there was too many penalties, and they had the turnover. So you can get away with those things at home against probably a somewhat lesser opponent, but you can't do that on the road at Escambia. So they're going to have to clean those things up.
Right, and to me, the margin for error for Mainland is smaller than it has been in previous years. There were years in which they could afford to take 10, 12, 15 penalties in a game because they simply out-athleted teams.
Right.
I don't think that's the case. They've got athletes for sure, but so does Escambia, so does Robert E. Lee, so does Columbia. Whoever they play, if they advance, these teams are going to have the athletic capabilities, and they're going to be able to match up with Mainland man for man. So they've got to be a team that does not beat themselves, that they can't take the chances and make the mistakes that maybe they would have gotten away with in previous seasons.
Feels like fall football outside. It's cold today, a chilly 66 degrees.
Is there a better combination of 2 words in the English language than Arctic blast.
That's a great one. It rolls right off the tongue.
Love it. I love
Finally, me growing out my beard's paying off because I'm not going to be cold outside tonight. I walk around with nothing on but my beard, but I won't. Anyway, you're going to be going to Lake Wales. I'm going to be going to my house on Friday night because we are not going to Pensacola. We're going to have you cover that for both games.
Yes, the Pensacola News Journal is going to be covered,
Yes.
covering the game for us. I will send out information on Twitter, who to follow, and all the updates that we can get from Pensacola. We will be keeping as heavy a track of the mainland game as possible. And if they do win, we will staff their 3rd round game. They're either going to be at home against Columbia or just up the road in Jacksonville against Robert E. Lee.
If they win, I'm back in action. You're pulling me back off the bench.
That's right.
But for this week, I'm going to be, I'll be the 6th man. Chris is going to be at the Atlantic Lake Wales game. I'm going to be at home. I'll be tweeting about all the games, though. Maybe having a bush light in the process. Who knows? Don't know. Anyway, follow me on Twitter, ZachDBNJ. Follow Chris Boyle, DBNJ. Keep it up in the Facebook group. Keep us posted if you're going to that mainland game, please. Football Friday, week number 2 of the playoffs. Hopefully this is not our last video. If it is, we will see you next year. But hopefully, we'll see you next week.